I pictured this much differently. What this is this is proof that the universe has a wicked sense of humor. I have been planning to start a YouTube channel for at least a year and a half, maybe longer, doing research and doing my OCD thing, lining up my ducks with their ducks and their brother's ducks and their uncle's ducks twice removed. And I think I was suffering from a little magical thinking because I thought that I was going to get hit on the head with the YouTube fairy when it was time to say, start, to go. So I was kind of waiting for her to show up, which I really should know better. That's been my whole life, is taking action and really suffering when I don't take action. So I should know better. I do know better, but it's funny. We fuck with ourselves more than anyone could ever fuck with us. So anyway, back to the universe. I'm making this video right now and starting my YouTube channel right now because the universe told me to. And I have figured out that it's just not a good idea to ignore the universe when it taps you the first or the second or maybe even the third time. But, you should hopefully have gotten it by then, because by the fourth and fifth time, it's not a tap. It's not a tap. It's a thunk. It's a thud. It's a smash. It's a car accident. It's an illness. It's somebody goes to jail, or somebody pushes your button for, the 500th time, and it's just one time too many, and you snap and you lose it. And the universe was trying to tell you that you were in a bad situation and that you were courting ruin, literally courting ruin. Because chaos is the natural order of things, and if you cannot actively direct all your energy towards the positive, then all you're going to do is become part of the chaos. Because when you are a negative energy in a negative world, then there isn't anything opposing the negative, and then that's just what takes over. So, rabbit hole. I'm not going to go down a rabbit hole. Obedient to the universe's gentle taps. I pictured this video much differently. I was in my backyard studio, which is kind of an art / when I need to get away studio. This is how I pictured it. I was in my studio and I was wearing something, I don't know, elegant or something, I don't know. Something not like me, I guess, is the bottom line. Where I wasn't looking like a crazy artist who's almost 50. So it took me a really long time to accept that I was actually an adult, so I'm not really ready to do 50 yet. But, that's my biological age. Just because it's my biological age, so it doesn't mean it has to be my actual age. And it's not. I don't feel 40, almost 49. I'll be 49 on the 26th of October. I don't feel 50. I hope I don't look 50. I definitely don't act 50. Almost 50. So I feel better than I have in, I don't know, maybe 35 years. Literally, maybe 35 years. Since I started suppressing my personality in order to get along with somebody who was in a position of authority over a child that I cared about. And that's when I started to become subservient. I became subservient to men who were just trying to raise their kids the best way they knew how. And they wanted me to follow their way of doing things. And I'm not here to speak about that. That's, and if a parent is taking responsibility for their child and they're not absent, in other words, then, you have to yield to their wishes. I think to a point, the point probably varies depending upon who you ask. But anyway, the point is that there are some parents that I'd like to just, charge across the store and beat against the end cap, until their brains start to spurt out of the top of their head. But I don't go shopping very often because I very often, every time, just about every time, if there's a child present, I want to kill the parent. I don't understand why you take your kids shopping. I mean, what do you think is going to happen? Hello? They're going to act out. They're going to act up. They're going to want things. They're going to whine. They're going to get tired. I mean, I want to do all of that, and I'm almost 50. So, maybe don't take them to the store. I mean, if you don't have any choice, absolutely no choice whatsoever, then maybe break it up into little small chunks or something. I don't know. And I'm not even saying that for me, because honestly, I put my headphones on, I'm good. And I think people need thicker skin anyway. But just honestly, I just feel terrible, because I know that that's just like half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour of hell that you or your child, neither one of you is ever going to get back. And the really fucked up thing that we don't acknowledge is that when we shout at our children, we shock them. We just shock their little systems. Just like a zap. We just shock the shit out of them. Every time. Every time you shout at your children. Especially if it's out of context, or it's sudden, or if it's a shift in mood, or if like if you were playing, or if you were just doing something and then they did the wrong thing and you just shouted at them. I mean, I don't really understand why we shout at kids. We're not allowed to shout at adults, really. I mean, we don't go into work and shout at our coworkers. Why did it become okay to shout at and hit our children? That doesn't really make sense to me, honestly, because check it out. That's an actual human being, like a person with an entire fucking life that they're going to live almost entirely outside of the realm of your control or your influence, even if you're a parent or grandparent. I don't give a shit. If you're not that person, that individual person, trust me, look at your own life. I'm almost 49. I've lived the majority of that time by my own hook or my own crook, and my parents didn't have any say then, right? They weren't looking over my shoulder saying, hey, you might want to balance your checkbook today. Quite the opposite, but that's a story for another time. So, in other words, we are autonomous human beings. We're individual, solo, unique people. We're literally the only one. And you might not know this until, if you have a parent who dotes on you, or even a grandparent who dotes on you, or an aunt. I was an aunt who doted on my nieces and nephews. And there's a singular kind of love, that I loved my kids with that. I still do love them with that singular focus. And when you have that, you don't ever feel alone. I know my kids don't feel alone, because they follow me and find me wherever I am out in the yard and talk to me for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour and a half, depends on what they've got on their minds. And they seek me out and ask me to hang out. Hey, Mom, the biggest thing is, Mom, I want to show you a song. And in my humble opinion, if your kids are sharing their music with you, then you're at least somewhat in tune with them. I mean, I can sit and listen to those songs, and I know right where my kid's head is at. If I listen to 3 songs, maybe, say, and I know where his heart is, and I know what he's thinking about. I know what he's struggling with. I know who he is becoming. And I can see little things that maybe need some attention, just like from me. I mean, like literally paying attention, not like, oh God, I need to talk to him, but like, I need to look at that. I need to think about that. I need to examine this little poke that I just felt, about a lyric, or his reaction to a lyric, or when I watch a movie with him, or, I mean, I've always done this with my kids, watching cartoons with them, their reactions informed my reactions, and my reactions were to be increasingly, have an increased awareness of where they are in that moment, because that is kind of how we tell each other things. Like, we don't just say, hey, you want to sit down? I want to tell you what I'm thinking. And when you ask them, they squirm away, like a worm. And you're trying to pick up a worm in the yard, and you're like, I'm just trying to throw you in the dirt. It's for your own good. Come back, worm, come back. And the worm's like, I don't know, maybe you're not a gardener, but when you try to get a worm, pick him up, because if I'm going to be making a rockery or something, if I see a worm, I'll pick him up and I'll toss him over towards the flower bed so that he's in good dirt. I don't want to smash him with a rock. That's what's coming next if you're in that spot, right? So I try to pick them up, and they are so determined to get away that they're almost impossible to catch. Well, they're not really impossible to catch, but maybe I'm always afraid I'm going to pinch them and squish their little bodies in half, and I don't want to see them do that little thing that they do where they break in half. I know they do it. I know it's cool. It's awesome. I kind of wish I could do it sometimes, and sometimes I kind of feel like I am. Maybe that's what my mind did. But anyway, okay. You can't catch those guys without feeling like you're going to crush their little bodies, maybe, unless you're a sociopath. I'm just kidding. Anyway, okay. Where was I? Kids, they squirm away like worms. Okay, so this is not how I envisioned this. I'm even wearing gloves. I was painting. I was painting my garage. I'm wearing my Mr. Rogers sweater because it's early fall in Seattle and it's chilly. And I was doing several outside projects because I very much like to be outside. Thank you, Wim Hof. Seriously, no lie. I live with my ex-husband. So, and he no longer works outside of the home. So yeah, I'm outside a lot. All the time. And so even in February. So I've been working on several outside projects. And what I thought was when I was ready to make the video, I wouldn't be wearing a plaid flannel shirt or my Mr. Rogers sweater. And I think I would have done something with my hair. So, and I was going to be less crazy. And fuck. No, there are so many expressions about this. I don't even know where to begin. You know, God laughs when you make plans. And, you know, I can never think of those at the moment when I need to think of them. I can only think of them when I'm by myself in my backyard and I'm like, oh yeah, I should put that in my book because that's very witty and source quote, of course. But, you know, I love that, whatever. That's the only time I can ever think of it. So anyway, you know, the best laid plans of mice and men, as John Steinbeck so wittingly said it. And my mom said it all the time because she was like that with Shakespeare and Steinbeck. Don't ask me why. I don't know. She wished she was an Okie from Oklahoma because of John Steinbeck. Maybe she was really in love with him. I never considered that because of how much she was supposedly in love with my dad, but she terrorized my dad, so maybe she wasn't. But anyway. Okay, rabbit hole. Woo! Right, so I fell off the back of the U-Haul. We'll just get that out of the way. Onto my head, in my driveway, on the pavement. It was bad. My neighbors heard it. It was really bad. So scrambled my brain a little bit. Well, I mean, my brain might have been scrambled before, but my recall, or it's the weirdest thing. It's getting shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. My retention, that's what it is, my retention. And so I learn things and I absorb things, but I don't necessarily get to choose what those things are. Some things I absorb and some things do not. I can't follow directions because when I'm reading directions, well, by the time I get to page 3, I can't remember page 1. And I wasn't always that way. I was a good student, well, except for, junior high when I was being terrorized and beaten up almost every single day for being literally the only white person in my entire neighborhood. I mean, there might have been some other white people, but there were no other white kids because I walked to school and I would have seen those kids if they lived in that neighborhood. They did not. And I was not popular at 12 and a half in the Central District in Seattle or at my school. And that was when busing was going on. And so the kids were getting bused into my neighborhood from where I live now, from where I have often lived, which is West Seattle. So West Seattle kids were getting bused. They said over to the valley. So Rainier Valley on the other, just basically on the other side of I-5. We were bused over there and they were bused over here. So we split up half of their schools and split up half of our schools. And that was during my elementary, middle school, and high school years. And so I went to an elementary school called Dunlap for just a brief period of time because I went to 13 schools in 12 years. So I went to a school called Dunlap, and I don't really remember that because I've really blocked a lot of shit out. I don't really remember anything about Dunlap. I don't even remember going there, except I know I did. I think it was in 5th grade when we first moved back to Seattle after moving to Oregon, but that's a story for another time. And then I went to Meany, which was a bad school. That was the one where I refused to go to school anymore. A girl got raped in the band room when I was in the science class next door. It was terrible. Anyway, I got beat up on the way home, not just once, but several times, and not just by females either. So I wouldn't go to school anymore. So, and then I ended up at Rainier Beach, which was, on the other side of I-5, Rainier Valley. So, the point that I was trying to make, oh my God, now I can't remember the point I was trying to make to tell you about why I'm crazy. I don't know. I guess I'm going to have to come back to that. And I know that there are probably people that are going to be watching this that are going to be screaming it at the phone or your computer, whatever you're watching this on, because that's what I do when I hear somebody struggling to remember something. And I want to tell them, I just want to scream it as loud as I can so they'll hear it so that they can get back on track. And I know it doesn't work, but I'm an empath. What are you going to do? I'm what I think of as a stupid empath. Just, hi, America. I'm a stupid empath. Nice to meet you. I do stupid shit because of my empathy. But I'm learning a different way. I'm learning a better way. I really am. And this video is actually evidence of that because I started out my adult life, well, like I lived my entire childhood, terrorized and terrified. Just like, why did I mean, not really terrorized. I've always been taking things a lot in stride, but like, kind of like scared. That's what it is. I may be keeping it together and I may take it in stride, but I'm always like terrified. That's what it is. I'm just fucking terrified every minute of every day because I don't know how dick works. I literally don't. I never have. I don't understand how it works. I don't understand when it doesn't. I don't understand how people work or when they don't, literally. I don't understand why people are one way one minute and another way another minute, even though that's what it's like inside my head every single minute of every day. It's this constantly rotating disco ball inside my head. So maybe people aren't changing. Maybe I'm changing. I just realized that on camera. Maybe that's why the universe told me to make this video. I am going to post this, though, because I know that I need to share this journey that I'm on, because it's literally stealing if I don't, because I'm here to tell you I tried everything I knew to do to destroy myself because I was in so much agony. And I was just, my parents killed themselves, 15 years apart, but the entire life was just a big clusterfuck that just crescendoed with their suicides. And, my brother died and we were estranged. My sister died and we were estranged. There were misunderstandings and confusion and just basically silence, just angry silence, or who knows what kind of silence. And then like judgments after just silences, which I don't understand how you can make a judgment after a silence. That doesn't really make any sense to me. I mean, there's a lot of things that don't make sense to me, but it doesn't make any sense to me how you can decide to change the way that you've been in a relationship without talking to the other person in the relationship. It doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, if it's a thing like over time where you're getting tired of the person and then you have this moment and you realize that you can't take it anymore, that's not the same thing as like you talk to somebody and they say something about somebody that you know, and then you stew on that, or you talk about that, or you worry over it in your own head or with your friends or whatever, and that other person may be completely oblivious. I know I have been oblivious several times when I've found out that I've been basically taken my measurements have been taken, my inventory. That's what I was trying to think of. My mom was, both my parents, but my mom actually really did get into AA pretty hard. And I went to a lot of meetings with her to support her. And also because I enjoyed it. I loved the people. And I loved to see her in that element because she was as full of shit as she ever was, but she was very happy. She was very shiny. She was a shiny penny in AA. That's why I went with her. And I adored my mom, despite the fact that I'm not really sure she liked me very much. Well, I mean, I think she admired the parts of me that she reminded her of my dad, because she really loved the shit out of my dad. But I think my sister she needed my sister, and she loved her, and she was her firstborn. And my brother was the only boy. And then there was me. But the fucked up thing is that she and my dad only had me. And because she had 2 kids from another marriage, she had 1 kid from another marriage. And then they had me in their ill-fated, ill-conceived match. So they only had me, and pretty sure that my sister was my dad's favorite and my brother was my mom's favorite. But I didn't realize that until I was an adult. So it really didn't do anything to jade me or make me bitter, because I don't give a fuck now. By the time I figured it out, I didn't care anymore. I mean, I literally don't care. I don't care about that part of it, I guess is what I'm saying, because I know how I felt in our interactions. I can remember adoring my parents and just thinking that they were cool. I thought my dad was so cool. And he was a violent alcoholic who, threw our television in the bathtub, I don't know how many times, beat the hell out of my mom, I don't know how many times, broke everything, embarrassed the holy fucking shit out of me, lost jobs, lost storage units, lost relationships. I mean, fucking my parents couldn't have fucked my child up anymore if they had literally sat down and drawn out a fucking map. Like if they had monthly meetings. Hey, I have an idea. Let's fuck up so bad that the 2 older kids go into foster care. And then she'll be here with us all by herself. That'll be fun. So anyway, I still love them. I still think they were pretty cool. I know that sounds really fucking stupid, but I do. I thought my dad was a badass. And I realized he probably wasn't, but, this is the thing, boys and girls. Listen to this very carefully. All of these things that I was not resolving, that I was not facing, that I was not becoming okay with, that I was not acknowledging and admitting to myself, like that my mom she only paid attention to me when my sister and brother got fed up with her. And, and that I am not seen the way that I see myself. That's a very painful thing. I'm not seen according to my heart, I think is what it is. And I know I'm not alone in that. And that's why I'm making this video, because I don't know how to be seen for my heart. And I know I'm not alone. I know there are a whole lot of other people also who are lonely and isolated and frustrated, and they're trying. They are working on themselves. They're working on their lives. They're doing good things. They're making right choices, and they are not able to form connection. There's so many lonely people. And by living with my ex-husband for 10 years, 4.5 of which were also with a boyfriend, I have learned some interesting coping things, that some of which I've had to unlearn, but I learned a lot from learning that I developed those coping mechanisms. I learned a lot about myself. And I had a couple moments of acute grief and pain and sorrow, and some of it was shocking, and some of it was just deep, like the most incredible pain, the loss of a child, basically. Because whether they came out of your body or not, if you lose the bond with them, it doesn't go nowhere. And I believe, in me at least, it became a malignancy. And I think that I was so disconnected from my true nature that I felt like an alien in my own body, and I felt like an alien in my own life, and I didn't know how to make anything that mattered, because there wasn't enough of me to pull together in one spot, to hear like the Who's, like Dr. Seuss, the Who's and the Whoville or whatever, there weren't enough disparate parts of me so that you could hear me. And I had been told to sit down and shut up and mind my own business, and I had been by my parents, and then I'd moved around so much that I think I became kind of like reactionary rather than introductory, which is kind of weird, but anyway, all I know is I definitely developed a veneer over my personality, is how I think of it. It's not like a false person, but like a veneer over my personality. And when I sort of had this excruciating shock, and there were several really extreme emotions at the same time. It changed my perception of how I fit in the world. I don't know. The way I feel like it is. This is why. So I've been writing this, but I haven't written down this part yet because I can't think how to describe it exactly. Maybe somebody else has had this happen to them. I know somebody's had to have had this happen to them, because the way that I got to the point where I could start to focus on the things inside of me that had been wired incorrectly in childhood, before I could even identify that was the problem, I had to have somebody tell me that I was the problem, because I didn't know I was the problem for a while. It was a little bit of a shock to me, even with the boyfriend living in the house. I'm a little stubborn like that. I just thought it was because my ex was an ass, my boyfriend was selfish, and I didn't really realize it was because I was a selfish ass until somebody Somebody told me that. So, and that would be, I think Angie Atkinson is the first person who told me that I was an asshole. And I went, wow, I didn't like that very much. That's not what I came here to hear. Excuse me. Didn't you hear how he just talked to me? Didn't you see how my son disrespected me? I raised him better than that. Don't you see how they do me? And she went, well, yeah, because I don't even remember how she said it. I don't want to misquote her, but I just remember it was funny as hell. And I was like, damn, what the hell? It was basically like, well, for starters, because you're sitting there taking it, and then this might be an amalgam because I have since gone on and just sort of taken me where the universe has taken YouTube to take me, and well over 15,000 hours of just literally studying the people who have the unbelievable stones to make videos expressing honestly and sincerely what they're going through and what they're doing and how it's affecting them, so that other people can benefit even a little bit, even if it's one person, even if you look like an idiot, even if, it causes you embarrassment. I see, the thing is, if this causes me embarrassment, I've had a lot of embarrassment. My mom cut my pants. I had a pair of red pants in the 4th grade, one pair of pants. And they were like, I don't know, like not slack material, but like not 4th grade pants. And they were red, and she cut the bottoms of them with Rick-Rack scissors. I don't know if you know what that is, but makes these little V things all along the bottom of the pants. And I wore those every day in the 4th grade. Every single day. 2 years later, I got a pair of Sarah jeans from a friend of mine. I don't know if you know what Sarah jeans, probably don't if you're young, but they had glitter in them. They were sparkly, and I love me some glitter. Oh my God, don't get me started. My family would tell you. This is how I ended up in the carport and in my barn studio thing doing my crafts because they were tired. I have 2 boys, Mom, the glitter. I love glitter. So I had a pair of Sarah jeans. Not only did I love glitter, but they were the hot thing, the in thing, And I never had the hot thing and the in thing. Remember the red Rick-Rack pants. So I took these Sarah Lee's food. Anyway, Sarah pants, Sarah jeans. And I wore them, and I was so excited until I got to school, and somebody said, this girl, I don't remember her name, but I remember her fucking face. She leaned down and looked at my leg, and she said, I don't have any glitter, or something towards words to that effect. I probably should have just punched her right in the fucking throat right then, but that was pre-living in a central district and learning that you gotta eventually punch back, or you're just gonna end up as road pizza. This was in the 6th grade. I didn't know yet that there was such a thing as road pizza, like that. Friend on friend road pizza. Anyway, so, oh God, don't tell me I just lost it again. Okay. I'm going to end this because it's already too long. There's one thing I've learned. This is the thing. I'm just going to come back, and I'm just going to talk for probably about a half an hour, because that's about how long I can stand the sound of my own fucking voice. I don't know what I'm going to say. I have no idea. I don't know what's going to come out, because I'm just going to talk about what I'm going through as I'm trying to stay sane. 15 years on Prozac and Wellbutrin and Adderall and several other things, and they wanted to put me on lithium, and I drew the line at lithium. I don't know why. Something in my head told me, no, you cannot go on lithium. You just can't. Lithium was what my mom was taking before she was committed. Lithium, I have a thing in my head, I guess. I don't know if it's Frances Farmer, the actress that was from here. I've been pissed about her story my entire life. You should look her up. Fucked up story, really, honestly and truly. We needed to make another movie about it because it was really fucked up what happened to her. And the thing is that if we don't stop judging and crucifying people for being different and even for being crazy, because I think that technically, I went off my meds 2 years ago because I was a zombie and I thought I'd rather be crazy than be a zombie. And guess what? I am so much happier being crazy. I don't really have any friends because I think I'm a little hard on people. I mean, I'm not hard. I'm very nice, but I think it's hard to be friends with crazy people. And I've had a lot of crazy friends, so I get it. But I'm still really happy. I don't know. I've lost I don't know, just about everybody that I've ever really loved in one way or another. And, but the day ain't over yet. So I'm going to end this and I'm going to come back and I'm just going to tell you how I'm doing again. And it'll probably be too much because I've always been too much. I don't do too little, I do too much. And I just hope that if there's one person who feels like they're too much or who feels like they're alone today, you know that today you're not alone and that I've felt like this before and I'm still I'm a happy, productive person and I laugh and my kids love me. So, I have a lot of energy and I get a lot done and I have a lot of plans. I have a lot of ideas. I have a lot of ideas for all kinds of shit we could be doing better, differently, more of, less of, twisted around, stood on its head. I think we need to flip everything. That's what I think. I just think this, one of my favorite expressions right after own your shit. Own your shit. Just own your shit. You want to fix your mood? You want to fix your weight? Do you want to fix your hair? Own your shit. Own your life. Clean up your dead bodies. Clean up your messes. Take responsibility for your shit. Clean up somebody else's shit. And when you're done cleaning up somebody else's shit, clean up the person next to their shit. And when you're sitting on your ass watching Game of Thrones, get up and go clean up somebody's shit. I have an idea. Why don't you go to your local business that's owned by a person of African American descent? That's an important clarification because usually I just say black people. Why? Because these are my people. This is who I was raised with. This is who I am in my heart and soul. Is I'm just a person. I'm just a person. They're a person. So I say black because their skin is black and because that's just, I mean, I don't know. Don't get me started. So, but an African American business owner, and ask them very politely if there's anything that you could do for them. If there's anything that you could do to thank them and repay them for their enforced labor that built our country and strengthened our country into the economy that it is today. And I don't know about white privilege. I haven't seen a whole lot of that. And I've had some really hard, dark days with some particularly black women or black females who didn't like me, which I don't understand. I don't know. I would like them to. Because, I just would like everybody to first give me a chance to fuck up first before they get mad at me, So I just like people, and I really especially like women. I like women. So it just really bothers me that there's like these women that just automatically don't want to be friends with me. In fact, actually, there's a lot of people who don't want to be friends with white women, and I understand that. Oh my God, I've seen the help. Okay, I get it. But at the same time, how far have we come since then? How do we treat people who aren't like us? I don't care what color their skin is. How do we treat people who aren't like us? Because that's what we're getting back. And the way that we treat them is as if they don't matter, because if they mattered, if they really mattered, this is how you would know if they mattered. You would treat them like you would your mother. If your mother was a descendant of somebody who picked your country up on its back and carried it to a better place, to a stronger economic place, and then that person got flicked aside like an annoyance, maybe at best, strung up in a tree, if at worst, and I've lived with a controlling man for a long time. And there's a very insidious sort of pressure that's applied when somebody wants you to stay in your place. And that's going to happen anytime somebody has an agenda that you're rising up against threatens to disturb. And so the conditions that, starting with the moment that we conceived the idea to go over there and take them in boats away from their families and bring them here. Okay, so that was not even the original sin. Then we have to go back to what we did to the Native Americans, to the indigenous people, to the first people, to people who... And the thing is that what we're doing right now, what we're experiencing right now, that continues until we make these things right. I think, in my heart, I think that until we heal the wounds in the Native American world, because we violated them in every way that is possible to violate a people, and we're still doing it because we haven't owned it. We just threw some money at them. And we've kept them separate. And it's a fucking travesty. It's an absolute travesty. And the rest of the races are supposed to just go on as if there's one that doesn't, they don't exist. Native people they do their own thing. They're on the fucking reservation. I mean, that's not okay. That is not okay. And then, plus I can't find my friend Pamatau. So Pamatau, if you're watching this, if anybody knows a Pamatau yellowbird, we were friends in the 6th grade and I loved him. And I was the only one that knew he wasn't him because he wouldn't tell anybody. And he was amazing. He was the first person I ever knew who wouldn't stand for the national or for the Pledge of Allegiance or anything. In school, as a 6th grader, he refused to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. That's fucking balls. I got paddled in that same classroom for being disobedient. And it had holes in it, that paddle did. And our teacher was huge. He was a big man. I could show you a picture. His name was Mr. Jensen, Fairmount Park, 1981 or 2. You can go look it up. But you can see a Pamatau too. Fairmount Park, Seattle, Washington. Seriously, Mr. Jensen was a big guy, and he paddled me for being disobedient. And a Pamatau yellowbird, he stood up with his gorgeous braids and his beautiful, amazing face and his voice that was just, I don't know. It was just crazy. I mean, I didn't have a crush on him or anything. I just adored him. I don't really think I've ever really had a crush on anybody. I think I just adore people. Like, I really do. I just adore people. And I just absolutely adored him. And after 6th grade, of course, of course we moved. And that was that. And I was living in the CD, and I don't know where he went. But the point is that I remember how much different his world felt than my world. And I didn't like it then, and I don't like it now. And this is what I feel. I feel like, all my life I grew up with, I will just say culture. It's not we were cultured people, but my dad was, I guess what they called him, a jive motherfucker back in the 70s. That was my dad. He was a jive motherfucker. He actually called himself the N-word because he just always had. He'd grown up. He was a greaser, and all of his friends were always the most outside the social norms were always his friends. So the most outside the social norm people were always the people that my dad, whose name was Norman. They called him Storm and Norman, of course. Those were his people. And I didn't realize until, I said it to myself, I think like in my 40s, that I'm a fish out of water because I married into a family of people who very much want to live within the norms. Very, very much. It's a very big deal to them. And the thing is that they were just doing their thing, minding their own business, and I come blowing in like, I don't even want to think about it, a fucking twister. I mean, seriously. And I don't conform well, and it's a miracle my mother-in-law even still speaks to me. But she's a gracious, brave, smart, responsible adult woman who loves her kid, loves her grandkids, and she loves me. I know she does. Even though she'd like to shake me till my teeth rattled sometimes, but I know she loves me. And she's been just as much of a mom to me as my mom has. She really has. And which is a big reason why I want to continue to be less of the irresponsible me and more of the, this is your life, take responsibility for it me, is because she's not, she's getting older, of course, and so she's starting to have aches and pains and stuff. And when I see her limp and I see her, and I want her to know that we're going to take care of her, I think is what I want. I just want her to know that it's okay if she feels like she has to say no, or if she wants to sit down, or she doesn't want to do as much as she did before or whatever, that, and I keep asking her, can I help you? I'm right here, call me if you need me. And I say that to people all the time and nobody ever calls. It's really strange. But then again, I guess I don't call people. I tell people that all the time. I will go out of my way to say, seriously, I'll text them. Is there anything I can do to help you. You know, if you're a friend who's gone through cancer, I don't know how many times, and except for the things I've insisted upon, like the things I've forced upon her, bringing baskets over or whatever, she won't ask for help. So that's her right and her privilege, but it does make me sad because it's not just the sweater. I love me some Mr. Rogers. Love me some Mr. Rogers. We need to bring neighborly back. So I'm going now, but listen, I don't know who to target this video with. I don't know who to tag. I don't tag. I want to go work in my yard now. If you want a better tomorrow, I really truly think that I know the way to a better tomorrow. I think we all know the way to a better tomorrow, but I don't think that we access it until we're trying to find it for somebody else. I think. I don't know. It's something weird. There's a lot of weird shit about our brain, and I've learned most of it, and I probably shouldn't have, because that made me smart on one level with, nowhere to go with it. But I do know one thing, though, and that is that I would not be talking to you if it wasn't for Angie Atkinson, and then, the literally dozens of other people who just pour their heart out for us on YouTube. And that anybody could say anything negative about any of them, much less, oh my God, Jordan Peterson, people just trash him. Oh my God, I can't tell you how many things that man explained to me, just rationally and clearly and concisely, and I got it. Don't lie, or at least, I don't remember what the second part is, because that happens to me, because now I'm all upset. I didn't ever understand why lying was bad, because my parents told me to answer the phone and tell the bill collectors that they weren't home. I mean, lying was just what we fucking did about everything to everybody. It's what you do when you grow up in a really shitty, toxic family. You learn to lie, and then you become an adult and everybody goes, tell the truth. And you go, oh, okay, wow, wait a minute. I can't do that, because if I tell the truth in this life, something bad's going to happen. I don't know what exactly, but everything's going to blow up, or what, because we're living a full of shit life, really. I mean, Roseanne was just talking about this on Joe Rogan. I didn't listen to the whole thing. I love me some Joe Rogan. That is a kind human being. If you don't watch him, you should. That is a kind human being. You listen to him do an interview with Roseanne Barr and tell me if you've ever seen a man be more of a gentleman, and just, I wouldn't want my kids to act like that. Seriously, Joe, if you ever watch this, which I hope you do, because that's the whole point of this, is you're part of my tribe, whether you like it or not, and I wouldn't be here without them. And I'm making this video because I'm not going to steal their generosity and keep it for myself, because they taught me better. So that's all for now. I love you all, every single one of you. Even if you're not a palmetto yellow bird, or you don't bring him to me. Cheers.